Hey, welcome to another episode of Mini BTP. Brandon Mileski and Pat Micheletti. When we do Mini BTP, it's just a shortened version of Beyond the Pod. We only talk about one topic, and we're continuing our vision for the division series as we lead up to the 2023-2024 NHL season, and we're going through the Central Division. We've already talked about the Chicago Blackhawks, Arizona Coyotes, and the St. Louis Blues. And Pat, today the team we're talking about is the team that took fifth in the Central Division last season with 92 points, just missed the playoffs by 3 points. That would be your Nashville Predators. We previously talked about the Blues and kind of being a team in transition, losing some of those guys that you think of when you think of Blues hockey. And Nashville a little bit as well. They have a new GM in Barry Trotz. Their longtime head coach is now their general manager. Ryan Johansson was traded to the Colorado Avalanche. Matt Duchene bought out. He's now in Dallas. So they still have kind of that defensive core and the goalie core. But moving some pieces around it forward. Also, last season, Nino Niederreiter and Mikhail Granlund, both former Minnesota Wild players, were traded before the trade deadline. So they've really made a lot of changes to their forward position.
Yep, and a new coach, our good friend Andrew Brunette, takes over in Nashville, formerly of Florida, and associate head coach of New Jersey for the previous 2 years, or last year, I should say. Another team in transition. You mentioned the guys that they got rid of, and they add Ryan O'Reilly. He's their number one center. Is he a number one center anymore? I don't know. They still have Philip Forsberg up front who can score goals, but definitely you look up the middle. They have Ryan O'Reilly, Thomas Novak, former Gopher, who emerged out of nowhere from Milwaukee. Where he was and had a terrific year. Can he have the same type of year or follow that up with what he did a year ago? Cody Glass, former number one pick of the Vegas Golden Knights, who didn't pan out well there. He has struggled in the National Hockey League. He's going to be their third line center. So, they're one of those teams, yes, a veteran decor, a good goaltender. They're in the mix. They're right there, but I still think in transition a little bit. They got rid of a lot of money and they kept a lot of money. They're paying half of Ryan Johansson's salary this year, so I think they're a team on trying to change a little bit, and so it's hard to put a gauge on where they're going to be.
Let's talk about maybe the pleasant surprise that Tommy Novak was last season, because this is a team that had a lot of injuries up front. And yet, Pat, I kept going throughout the season. I'm going, they just don't have enough at the forward position. Like, this team's going to go away. And they just kind of kept hanging around and playing well. And I think Novak was kind of the biggest reason for it. He kind of carried the team on his back offensively, 17 goals and 43 points in 51 games. I kept waiting for that to end at some point, that he can't keep going on this pace, and he kept doing it. So maybe he's legit and for real.
Brandon, when he was at the University of Minnesota and you saw him, the way he handled the puck and the patience that he had with the puck, and he never got flustered, when a defender came on him, he was, but there was something like, okay, continue it. Show us a little bit more. And I think it took him time in Milwaukee to learn how good he could be. And, he's a really, really skilled player, really, really smart player. And, it was nice to see him come to fruition last year. And I'm sure Nashville certainly hopes that continues this year.
They did spend a bunch of money in free agency this year. You already mentioned they signed Ryan O'Reilly. Got Gustav Nyquist, who we saw with Minnesota prior to the trade deadline. And I thought he was a pretty solid player, though not necessarily maybe in the role he should have been. But he'll get a much bigger role there. He'll be a top six forward in Nashville, so he's going to get every opportunity. And then Luke Shen, a defenseman in the Minnesota Wild, have always been kind of rumored to be interested in. So three quality additions. Now they lost some quality players as well, Pat. But bringing in three quality guys there.
Well, you look at their decor. You have the best D in the league. Well, one of the best, Roman Josi. And he's phenomenal. It's just a treat for all of us to watch. Luke Shen, big body. Ryan McDonough, veteran, knows how to play the game.
Playoff tested.
They get Tyson Berry from Edmonton, and
Well, you never know with him. The
What's
talent's
that?
there. I said you never know with him.
You don't know
He's
because
got talent.
yeah, and he'll probably run their power play or second power play with Yossi there also. So,
But he's got some good players to work with around him, though, right?
Yeah,
Like
he does.
a lot of time in Edmonton, he was kind of thought to be, hey, he's your number one defenseman. I feel like with Yossi and McDonough and Shen, like he can get a little more freedom, and if he makes a mistake, he'll have people to back him up.
He doesn't have to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
And their goaltender is terrific. So defensively, I think they'll be fine. Although, the way Barry Trotz talks, he wants be quiet. He wants their team to be more offensive. So, they certainly have it on the back end with Barry and Yossi. And so it'll come down to, will their forwards be able to produce? And that'll be the key for them.
Are they going to have enough at the forward position to be able to play that way?
That's a great question.
Right.
You've got some guys that are unproven. They get the Gurianov kid who, I remember Kyle Rao telling me when Gurianov was in the minors, he said, this kid's the best player in the league, in the American League by far. He faltered in Dallas. He faltered in Montreal. And now he's in Nashville and he's getting a chance. The guy can really skate and, he's very, very skilled, but he just hasn't done it at this level. And so if they're going to make the playoffs, it's guys like that are going to have a good year.
I think with their decor and their goaltending, Pat, that they're not going to be bad where they bottom out, right? Like I think they'll be in the mix in the Central Division. I kind of figure they'll be in that 4 to 6 range in the division, and how their offense does might make them closer to 3-4. And if they can't score, they might be closer to 5-6 in the division. Where do you kind of evaluate the Nashville Predators? Where will they finish in the Central Division this year?
I agree. I think they're going to be in the mix with Minnesota, Winnipeg, Arizona, who we talked about. And so, they'll be right there. I think, and we're going to get to these teams, but, I think Colorado and Dallas are certainly 1-2. And then you've got those other teams that are fighting for a playoff spot.
That's right. We'll get to those next. We got the Winnipeg Jets, and maybe we'll also do a Minnesota Wild version coming up here next week. Pat, thank you as always for joining me for a mini BTP.
Have a great day. Thanks.
All right. He's Pat Micheletti. I'm Brandon Mileski. This has been another mini BTP as we continue our vision for the division series. We will continue it next week with the Winnipeg Jets and the Minnesota Wild. If you've missed any of our previous episodes with Arizona, Chicago, and St. Louis, you can listen to those right now on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch them on the KFAN YouTube channel. Thanks for listening or watching. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.